You're watching This is Exclusive with me, Shravan Sen, as the massive development takes place in the national capital. A big blow to the Congress party. The Enforcement Directorate moves inside the Young Indian office. They've now sealed that office. We are getting in more details in this edition. We'll break it down for all our viewers who are tuning in right now. What does this essentially mean with this massive development taking place soon after the questioning of Sonia and Rahul Gandhi? This comes just a day after searches were basically carried out at 12 locations. Joining me on this broadcast is my colleague Anuj from the Young Indian office in the national capital. Anuj, what more are you picking up right now? Because I'm given to understand that there is expected more development, at least at the AICC headquarters, where Delhi police has now ramped up the security.
That is something what we have been told, that this is going to be a call for protest. A call for protest has been already made in by the Congress party. Let me give you the sense that exactly is the notice which has been pasted by none other but the Enforcement Directorate themselves. Enforcement Directorate office has pasted this office, that this particular office is sealed and without any prior permission, nobody is allowed. Young Indian, it's written over there. It is written over there. Look at that nameplate. Young Indian, Bahadur Shah, Zafar Marg, Nai Delhi, Panjikrat Karyalay, Young Indian 5A Herald House, Bahadur Shah Zafar. So that exactly is the address, and near to that, just next to that, it is the notice which has been pasted over there. It is making it clear that the action has been taken by the Enforcement Directorate. The action has been finally taken because they don't want anything to be tempered, any proof to be tempered by any of the officials. Because yesterday, if we talk about Chavan, yesterday we have seen the course of action which was taken by Enforcement Directorate. We have seen how the 12 premises, the 12 location of which belongs to National Herald or Young Indian was raided by the Enforcement Directorate. Right now, reporting from this entry, this is the entry of the Herald House, Shavan, and on the 4th floor this particular office is which has been sealed. So we have shown you the nameplate of that particular office where the address is mentioned. We have shown this to our viewers, the notice which has been pasted. What is going to be next is going to be the major question at this point in time, because what we have been told that the Congress party is now again planning to come back on the roads of the national capital. We have seen the same when Rahul Gandhi was called in the same case for the questioning by the Enforcement Directorate. We have seen the same when Sonia Gandhi was called in this particular case for the questioning by the Enforcement Directorate. Yesterday also, when this particular place was raided by the Enforcement Directorate, which ended at around 1:45 in the midnight. Then also we have seen how the Congress Karyakartas and the Congress workers were protesting over here only, and they were finally taken to the road and they blocked the road also. And now again, what I've been told, a tweet has been made in by Jairam Ramesh, which is making it clear what is going to be the next course of action. On the other hand, what I've been told is that Congress is now again planning to come back on the street of the national capital. We have seen how the Lutyens Delhi was blocked by the Congress Karyakartas, by the Congress workers. This exactly is the entry. I'll ask my video journalist to continuously give you the sense from this particular entry also, because this exactly is the entry of the Herald House from where I am reporting. The notice we are showing has been already pasted in. But if we talk about this, Shavan, then we need to understand that the Enforcement Directorate finally has taken the next step. Earlier it was the questioning. Now the dots has been connected. Now the role of the shell companies has been looked up by the Enforcement Directorate. Now if we talk about the next level, the digital evidences have important.
कहना है वो हम कहेंगे, हमारे स्पोक्स पर्सन कहेंगे, हमको आपस में चर्चा करनी होगी, हम कर लेंगे।
सलमान जी, जो आज कार्रवाई हुई है पुलिस की, जो दोनों रास्तों को बंद कर दिया है पुलिस ने, उस पर क्या कहेंगे? ये बात निकल कर आ रही है। अरे
आप रास्ते मत बंद करें, वो उनको बंद करने दीजिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
जो आज कार्रवाई हुई है पुलिस की, जो दोनों रास्तों को बंद कर दिया है पुलिस ने, उस पर क्या कहेंगे? ये बात निकल कर आ रही है।
अरे आप
टीम यहाँ भी आ सकती है।
अरे आप रास्ते मत बंद करें, वो उनको बंद करने दीजिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
क्या वजह हो सकती है?
कोई वजह नहीं है, कोई वजह नहीं है। जो वजह होगी वो सामने आएगी, पता चलेगी। इसमें कोई छुप कर तो कोई बात नहीं कर सकता इस देश में ना। जो भी करना है उसके लिए आपको बताना पड़ता है। जिसके विरोध में आप कर रहे हैं, जिसके अगेंस्ट कर रहे हैं, आपको बताना पड़ता है। उसके पास जो भी फिर उसके बाद जो कार्रवाई करने की जो इच्छा होती है वो कार्रवाई करते हैं।
हेराल्ड हाउस के बाहर भी ऑर्डर लगा दिया ईडी ने कि तब तक नहीं खोल सकते जब तक कि परमिशन नहीं ली जाती है।
तो परमिशन ले लेंगे ना, इसमें क्या बात है?
क्या कांग्रेस सहयोग कर रही है सर? सहयोग
नहीं, सहयोग का कोई सवाल नहीं है। देखिए ऐसा है, जो कानून में जो कदम उठाए जाते हैं वो हमको, चाहे हमें पसंद हो या ना पसंद हो, हमको कानून के मुताबिक उनका जवाब भी देना होता है, तो हम कानून के मुताबिक जवाब दें।
तो आगे का क्या स्टेप रहेगा?
चर्चा तेज है कि यहाँ
कहना
ईडी
चाह
की
रहे
टीम
हैं
आ
कि आप
सकती
जो
है।
रूटीन जैसे अपने कांग्रेस ऑफिस आते हैं उसी इस तरह से कोई खबर आपको नहीं है?
और आप देखिए, कुछ नहीं है। मैं तो अपने ऑफिस आया हूँ, मैं अपने ऑफिस में नहीं आ सकता हूँ। हमारा घर है, हमारा ऑफिस है, हमारी पार्टी का केंद्र है, इसलिए हम यहाँ आते हैं, इसलिए आए।
सर, चर्चा इस बात की कि ईडी की टीम यहाँ आ सकती है।
अरे अगर आएगी तो मैं भी रहूंगा यहाँ पर उनका स्वागत करने के लिए।
जानकारी
नहीं, मुझे कोई जानकारी नहीं है। मैं तो सिर्फ अपने ऑफिस में आया हूँ। यहाँ पर अगर कोई जानकारी होगी तो वो हमको मिल जाएगी।
कार्यकर्ताओं को रोक दिया गया है, ऑफिस नहीं
अरे
आने
कार्यकर्ताओं को तो रोज रोका जा रहा है। जिस दिन देखो कार्यकर्ताओं को रोका जा रहा है, एमपीज को रोका जा रहा है। अब क्या करेंगे? कहाँ तक रोकेंगे? आप लोगों को रोका जाता है। हम तो कह रहे हैं कि आप ना रुकें, आप सही बात कहते रहें, आप सब लोगों को अपनी बात पहुंचाते रहें, वो बहुत है।
आप पहुंचे, कोई मीटिंग है क्या?
मीटिंग है सर?
नहीं, मीटिंग नहीं है जी। आप क्या पूछिए, हो गया आपका? चलिए, थैंक यू।
सलमान जी, मैं लेट आई, मेरी आईडी नहीं थी। गुरु जी
बताइए गुरु कहाँ है?
आप यहाँ ऑफिस पहुंचे, क्या कहना चाहिए?
अरे यार, ऑफिस में क्यों आते हैं? ऑफिस अपनी जीवन शैली का केंद्र होता है, राजनीतिक जीवन शैली का। और जो भी हम लोग अपने जीवन में करते हैं, जो भी आम जनता के लिए करते हैं, उसका जो केंद्र है वो हमारा ऑफिस है। तो यहाँ हम आए हैं।
जिस तरीके से ईडी की कार्रवाई हो रही है सर, तमाम पुलिस
कार्रवाई तो बहुत दिन से चल रही है। कार्रवाई तो बहुत दिन से चल रही है, तो कार्रवाई चलेगी। हमको जो करना है वो हम करेंगे।
अभी आज की कोई स्पेसिफिक खबर है?
Joining us on this special broadcast is Dr. Subramanian Swamy, a man who's been at the forefront of this entire scam, exposed it, and not just that, he fought it all through. Dr. Swamy, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you your first thoughts on this action that has been taken. While one would say this is just one step, it is nowhere closer to an attachment, because one would have to look at the attachment, which is going to be the bigger, I would say, the bigger action from the enforcement director. This is more like a procedural action that has been taken only because I'm given to understand the office bearers did not turn up. That is the reason why it has been sealed, so that evidence cannot be tampered with. But the bigger thing that one needs to look at is the attachment of the properties.
Well, first of all, there's much water that has flown down the Ganga, as they say. I had in June of 2014 got a order from the magistrates court issuing a summons to Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Motilal Vora and Oscar Fernandez. And they were asked to come. And then they, of course, tried to block it through the High Court and Supreme Court and failed. And ultimately they had to come, they had to take bail. Since I did not insist that they should be subject to jail at this stage for custodial interrogation. So they are out on bail. They are not just some people whose house or office we have raided. And in the course of it, I gave a complaint to the ED that the young Indian had only 5 lakhs as his paid up capital. And but it was able to give a loan to or a payment to Congress Party of 50 lakhs, saying that the 90 crores that you have been giving as loan to the the AJL, the Associated Journals Limited, for printing the newspaper, now will not be available to the Congress party because that company has folded up. It has, discontinued its operations, and it is in the process of being sold. So therefore, you are not going to get that 90 crores back. So we are giving you 50 lakhs. Now that 50 lakhs, how can a 5 lakh company of Young Indian afford 50 lakhs? So when we went in, saw that they had claimed that there was a loan from a company called Doltex in Calcutta, and that company said, "Oh no, we given a donation." Now it's almost a donation because there was no interest charge. There was no time factor put in as to when it has to be returned, how many installments, nothing. 1 crore was given, and that 1 crore naturally has they kept 50 lakhs and they gave 50 lakhs to the Congress party. Now all this is part of both money laundering, both foreign money laundering and local India under money laundering, because Doltex company is already under investigation of the ED for using black money. So in those circumstances, we are in a situation where the Congress leaders who have been named as accused and prima facie accused, because they are now have to take bail, and they have to give some surety, and they have to give a bond, and now we are into the next stage whether they should be convicted. So that process is getting completed, and we are in the final stages, and this raid was necessary because they were saying that we have nothing to do with all these transactions. It was Motilal Vora, who's dead and gone. So in order to establish whether that is a fact, they have to get documents, and those documents were in the this office of the Young Indian, and that's why they went. And that, by the way, that building is already attached by the Urban Development Ministry, because that building was built fraudulently against the reason. They were supposed to print only newspapers there, but they were not. They were running an office. The newspaper had ceased about 10 years ago. So therefore, they should have returned that property back to the DDA, which they didn't. So the Urban Development Ministry has taken a separate proceedings. So these are the things. I mean, it's an open shut case, all based on documents. And I think the Congress party should not go on talking about their innocence. They should come and prove it in the court.
Dr. Swamy, since you mentioned Congress party should not be talking about defending their leaders, I'll give you some of the reactions that have come in. So, for example, we had Harish Rawat of the Congress party saying that it's a freedom of press issue because the National Herald office is getting sealed. We had Prithviraj Chavan of the Congress party making it a freedom, liberty and democracy issue. And then we have had, of course, your best friend Mr. Karti Chidambaram saying Constitution of India will have to prevail. Sir.
These are all vague and desperate remarks, you see. This is not a newspaper. There was no newspaper being published. The National Herald had ceased publication. After my case, and after they being put on, on bail, it is then they decided that once a week they will publish National Herald. But they are not publishing it in the Herald House. They are publishing it in the Indian Express printing press by paying them money. So therefore, the Herald House has been converted for commercial purposes. You go there, so many private companies are there. Tatas are there, some IBM is there, some foreign companies are there. There's a passport office of the government of India, which when Krishna was the External Affairs Ministry, he overruled everybody and gave them this, agreed to pay rent. It's a very handsome rent. I don't know the exact amount just now, whether it has been raised from the past, but it's a huge rent the government of India is paying for the passport office. So therefore, what is this talk of the newspaper freedom? There's nothing. You closed it down. We didn't. The ED did not close it down. The police did not close it down. It was closed down by the management of the Associated Journals Limited. And then after that, the young Indian purchased the shares at throwaway prices. That's how the whole operation has been taken. It's all fraud, 420 all the way.
Dr. Swamy, my next question then is,
Yes.
It's a big building, the National Herald House, and all the rents go to young Indian. This might be the case in rest of the properties across the country, 12 of which were raided yesterday, searched yesterday by the Enforcement Directorate. Obviously, the rents must be huge. Now, the notice, and Shravan can come in there. The notice is about tempering of evidence, and all these rents might be considered proceeds of crime, adding to the scale of the money laundered.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely correct. You haven't seen the end of charges being come out. I also started with 4 charges. Now we have gone to 7. And I'm sure that another 5 will happen within the next 6-7 months. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm in the final stage. It's been held up because of a document which the Congress party is not willing to give me. And so I've asked the courts to have it give it to me, and the lower court didn't agree with me. They said, no, first let the proceedings be over and then you can ask for documents. That's, in my opinion, against the law. So therefore, I have gone to the High Court, and I hope to get a good answer very soon. So I think, let me tell you that every day some new violation of some criminal act is taking place, and there's also a possibility that I may have to add to my original petition, which I filed, in which they had to take bail, section 409 of the IPC, which is actually so serious that it is life imprisonment. So I think they are in deep trouble, and they should be more forthcoming. They should bravely face it.
Dr. Swamy, one last question that we would like to take from you is with regards to what really transpired yesterday when the searches were being carried out. I was told by my sources within the Enforcement Directorate that this time the searches were being carried out with a particular focus on the suspicious transactions. One, we already knew that there was a 1 crore amount that came in from a company which is largely considered to be a shell company, that Dotex. Can you tell us a little bit more when we say suspicious transaction? Does that also include that there is a possibility of cash transactions taking place?
Yes, not only cash transactions, we have still. I have given them 2 banks in which money has been deposited. One called Pictet Bank in Zurich, and there was another bank which Ms. Sonia Gandhi's name in Geneva. Whose name I forget. It's a Swiss name. So there are, enough evidence that a good part of the money was then laundered out to the Hawala abroad, and that I think the Enforcement Directorate should look at. I probably is looking at it, but I have not, been curious enough to ask whether they are or not.
I believe the ED is picking up pace in its investigation, and that obviously would make you very happy.
Well, it's bringing closure to my efforts from 2012. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swamy.
Thank you. Bye.
Focusing right now on what's really happening on ground zero. In fact, we are the only channel to have entered the Herald House. What you're seeing right now on your screens are those big developments that are taking place. Just about 45 minutes ago, news break coming in that the Enforcement Directorate has basically gone in for the jugular. they've essentially sealed the office of Young Indian, primarily because what we have been told that the principal officer, who happens to be Mallikarjun Kharge, did not turn up. And that is the reason why this particular property has now been sealed, which would essentially mean, and what the Enforcement Directorate is hinting at, that there could be tampering of evidence. Joining me right now is my colleague Anuj, who's been there, one of the first reporters to reach there, get you the live visuals. Anuj, what's really happening right now? Because the sense we are getting in that there's been increased police deployment, not just where you are standing right now, but few meters away, outside the AICC headquarters, also Rahul Gandhi's residence. What's really happening?
Oh, well, exactly, Shavan. That's something what we have been told, and that's something what we are understanding at this point in time. I'm reporting from the Herald House. I'll move and we'll give you the visuals also. I'm reporting from the Herald House, and this exactly is the Herald House, the top floor. The fourth floor is the building of Young Indian, which has been sealed. So when we are talking about the security arrangement, let me tell you, Shavan, a call for the protest has been called by the Congress party, and there the MPs, what I have been told through my sources in the AICC and the Congress party, that the Congress party now is planning to go out on the roads again, back on the street, and the Congress MPs, the Congress MPs will be again on the road, and they are planning to hit the road. They are rushing toward the AICC, what I have been told. There a meeting is going to happen, and Abhishek Manu Singhvi at 7 p.m. is going to do a press conference. At 7 p.m. at the AICC headquarters, Abhishek Manu Singhvi of the Congress party, the senior Congress leader, and the lawyer also is going to do a press conference from the Congress side, that what exactly is the stand of the Congress party now, what is going to be their course of action. But on the other hand, yes, at this point in time, reporting from the Herald House, more trouble for the Congress party, more trouble for Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. Enforcement Directorate Office finally sealed the premises of Young Indian. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay tuned with the live coverage. Short break.
Is computing in science and engineering an essential part of industry growth?
The technology is fast changing, and all the products that we are providing to the society, they require knowledge from interdisciplinary area.
Can the study of two different domains make students adept with problem solving?
I would just say that apart from getting the educational degrees, focus on developing skills for yourself.
To know more, watch Amrita School of Engineering presents Shaping the Future of India this weekend only on Republic TV.
We will do whatever it takes to strengthen Taiwan's self-defense capability. Taiwan is committed to maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, and we will make Taiwan a key stabilizing force for regional security, ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific, as well as the stable development of global trade and supply chain.
Speaking at a joint press conference, US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke about how she viewed the relationship between the US and Taiwan as important one, and how the solidarity of the people of the United States is with Taiwan at this point.
Put it in perspective, over 4 decades ago, the Taiwan Relations Act was building a strong bond between our two countries, advancing our shared interests of governance, economy, and security, while respecting the One China policy. Our solidarity with you is more important than ever as you defend Taiwan and your freedom.
The speaker went on to mention how China stood against Taiwan's participation in certain meetings and was harming relations of the country with the US. Meanwhile, protests erupted in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, where people protested against rising prices and high inflation. And people even thought that they were made to pay hefty electricity bills. Protesters also raised concerns that they were made to pay more amount of service charges and taxes than was due.
इससे पहले भी बिलात आते रहे हैं, लेकिन इस दफ़ा जो बिल जारी किए महकमा बरक़ियात की जानिब से, उसके अंदर फ्यूल एडजस्टमेंट चार्जेस के नाम पे एक बहुत बड़ी जो अमाउंट है वो हर बिल के अंदर ऐड की गई है। और जुल्म की इंतहा देखें कि एक तो पहले आप फ्यूल एडजस्टमेंट चार्जेस डाल रहे हैं, उसके बाद आप उन चार्जेस के ऊपर टैक्स दोबारा डाल रहे हैं। वो इतने बड़े आपके अमाउंट बन गए कि अगर किसी का 10,000 बिल है तो उसके अंदर 4,500 से 5,000 रुपया जो है वो फ्यूल एडजस्टमेंट चार्जेस की मद में एक नया जो है वो गुंडा टैक्स शामिल कर दिया गया है, जो एक आम आदमी की दस्तरस से बाहर है। और उस वजह से इस वक्त आपको पूरे आज़ाद कश्मीर के अंदर जो है लोग ऐसे।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah will arrive in Bengaluru today to take part in Sankalp Se Siddhi conference of the Confederation of the Indian Industries. During his visit, Shah will also hold a meet with state BJP leader. Shah's trip to the city comes amid unrest among a section of the BJP cadres who are upset with the spate of murders of Hindutva activists. As the Amarnath Yatra began 2 years post the pandemic, an important announcement was made by the J&K Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha. He noted that due to several accidents in the Yatra due to inclement weather conditions, the Amarnath Yatra will have to be halted. The J&K Lieutenant Governor also asked all devotees to perform and complete all their rituals before 5th of August.
Jammu and Kashmir's Lieutenant Governor Sinha urged the devotees visiting the Amarnath Shrine to complete their trips before the 5th of August. While stating
Swift action now being taken by the Enforcement Directorate in the National Herald scam. As we speak, the Enforcement Directorate has now sealed the Young Indian office. Joining me on this broadcast is my colleague Anuj. Anuj, what's really happening? Also, just show our viewers the kind of police presence that's outside the Herald house. And have any of the Congress leaders reached there?
Well, Shavan, at this point in time, let me tell you the office has been already sealed. As let me first give you the visuals also of this particular building, which is called Herald House, and on the top floor, that's the 4th floor, is the office of Young Indian, which has been sealed by the Enforcement Directorate. If we talk about the movement of the Congress Party leadership or the Karyakartas, they are assembling at the AICC headquarters at this point in time, and a crucial meeting of the top brass of the Congress Party is currently on at the AICC headquarters. So at this point in time, this is the strategy meeting which is going on in the AICC, and this is going to be the press conference of the Congress Party, which is going to be done by the top leader of the Congress Party, that's Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who himself is a lawyer also. So going to go into the deep into the technicalities also, what I've been told, and as this is expected again going to target the Enforcement Directorate and the Modi government. On the other hand, if we talk about the latest development in the story, then yes, this is the action now which has been taken by the Enforcement Directorate. The next action, the initiative which has been taken, because earlier we have seen the investigation was on when Rahul Gandhi was called in by the Enforcement Directorate in the same case, and this was the 4th round of the questioning for 4 days when Rahul Gandhi was there and he was grilled by the Enforcement Directorate. Later this was none other but Sonia Gandhi herself who was questioned by the Enforcement Directorate for 2 days. And yesterday we have seen how the 12 premises, how the 12 location related to National Herald or Young Indian was raided by the Enforcement Directorate. If I talk about this particular location and this particular building, I'll ask my video journalist to once again give you the sense also. So then Enforcement Directorate building yesterday reaches here at 10:45 in the morning, and after that what I have been told and what we have seen, that they left from here at around 1:45 a.m. in the midnight. So this was the long investigation, the long raid which was conducted by the Enforcement Directorate, not only at the one place but at the 12 premises which is related to somewhat related to the National Herald or Young Indian. So that is the next course of action which has been taken by the Enforcement Directorate. And as we do know, finally today, so that no evidence can be tampered, this particular action has been taken by the Enforcement Directorate. They have sealed this particular office. The office bearer was not cooperating with the investigating agency. So that is something which is going to be the more trouble for Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. Keep watching Republic TV. Time for a short break. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay tuned.
Your question comes in the context of right now a struggle between autocracy and democracy in the world. We cannot back away from that. And so as China goes and uses its soft power, money and whatever, into many countries in order to get their support at the UN and other bodies, we have to recognize if that has effectiveness, because it's a lot of money and it's promises that may or may not ever be kept.
Nancy Pelosi also reiterated how what mattered more was the success of Taiwan and that the US wished to have a good economic exchange between the two countries. And a quick roundup of all the action in Taiwan. Talking about the Russian invasion on Ukraine, Taiwan's president spoke about the situation at the Taiwan Strait in wake of the invasion and the rising threats if faced as a result of the same.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine earlier this year has made security over the Taiwan Strait another focus of worldwide attention. Aggressions against democratic Taiwan would have a tremendous impact on the security of the entire Indo-Pacific.
Taiwan's president, speaking at the conference, stated that the country is committed to pursuing its defensive interests and that to work towards a stable Indo-Pacific region.
The protesters are trying to exert force on the barricades and trying to break it down.
Mr. Chatterjee, would you like to respond?
Sonia Gandhi coming out of and we can see Priyanka Gandhi also here along with Sonia Gandhi.
Sanjay Raut Singh outside his residence. Yes, come out. Yes, come out.
Mainland China. We're here to talk about Taiwan. We have our our Taiwan Relations Act. We support the communiques, this, that, and the other thing that had gone before. So we are supporters of the status quo and the rest. I don't want anything to happen to Taiwan by force. So strength, and one of the biggest sources of strength is democracy.
Look at the mountain of cash.
राहुल गांधी को हिरासत में लिया जा रहा है। बड़ी खबर, बड़ी जानकारी।
We will do whatever it takes to strengthen Taiwan's self-defense capability. Taiwan is committed to maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, and we will make Taiwan a key stabilizing force for regional security, ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific, as well as the stable development of global trade and supply chain.
Speaking at a joint press conference, US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke about how she viewed the relationship between the US and Taiwan as important one and how the solidarity of the people of the United States is with Taiwan at this point.
Put it in perspective, over 4 decades ago, the Taiwan Relations Act was building a strong bond between our two countries, advancing our shared interests of governance, economy, and security, while respecting the One China policy. Our solidarity with you is more important than ever as you defend Taiwan and your freedom.
The speaker went on to mention how China stood against
Big setback for the Vadra Congress. Young Indian property sealed by the Enforcement Directorate. ED sources say senior officials of the Herald House did not cooperate, leaving no other option but to seal the young Indian property. Republic exposes the freedom struggle for profit scam. Now all proceeds of crime owned by the Vadra Congress to be probed. Mega show of patriotism on display in the national capital, but face-off erupts as opposition boycotts rally. Tricolour removed from the Hurriyat office in Srinagar shortly after it was put up. BJP hits back at the opposition, says don't politicize the tricolour. The Aam Aadmi Party has lent its support to opposition Vice President candidate Margaret Alva. "17 opposition parties question top court order on PMLA, expresses deep apprehensions over the implications." It's a super exclusive as Republic TV uncovers the joint Parthul Orpita link. The undeniable proof of the link is out now. China's posturing with drills, tanks and missiles fail. China push to corner against with just Pakistan and Russia support. It's a massive setback to the Vadra Congress. The Enforcement Directorate has sealed the properties of Young Indian. Enforcement Directorate sources have confirmed to Republic TV that they had asked the office bearers of Young Indian to cooperate. But the senior officials, rather the principal officer of Herald, Young Indian, did not turn up. Enforcement Directorate was finally left with no other option but to seal the Young Indian office. So just to put this into perspective, what's really happening, we'll stay with the visuals right now. Anuj has been covering this story very closely right now. Anuj, just walk us through the details that you're picking up right now. I'm told that this is a temporary sealment of the Young Indian office. That's primarily because Mallikarjun Kharge, who's the principal officer, did not turn up.
Well, exactly, Shavan. That is something what we have been told through our sources in the Enforcement Directorate, that this is not the permanently, like if you talk about this is not sealed permanently, but this is the temporary action which has been taken by the Enforcement Directorate. And why this has happened, we need to understand it. Because Mallikarjun Kharge was asked to submit some papers, was asked to submit some of the individual proofs which were required by the Enforcement Directorate, but the Mallikarjun Kharge was not cooperating in the same. Yesterday we have given the visual. Yesterday I myself was present over here when Mallikarjun Kharge and Pawan Bansal reaches at this particular premises of National Herald House, and let me tell you, Shavan, what I've been told, when Kharge was asked for the papers, Kharge left from there. And what I've been told now, what I've been told is that Kharge is going to give an official of the Young Indian to the Enforcement Directorate, who is going to communicate for these papers which is required by the Enforcement Directorate. Let me tell it to you again, Shavan, what I have been told is that Kharge has been asked to communicate with the Enforcement Directorate for the papers which is required by the Enforcement Directorate to take the investigation ahead. As the dots has been already connected by the Enforcement Directorate, now Mallikarjun Kharge is going to assign an official of Young Indian. I'm repeating it again, that this has been asked by the Mallikarjun Kharge by the Enforcement Directorate. Then Mallikarjun Kharge is now going to assign an official of Young Indian